Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis on Mirak. Mirak is the upcoming monster in the Rise of the Automata team race, so I hope you're ready for this analysis. Let's jump right into it. This monster boasts a life of 35,890, and in the metal category, that is actually the 6th highest life stat. It is 6th to a couple monsters. In first place with over 42k life is War Master Remtar, then we have Tank Arion, Wang Zhao, Wojtek, Holter's Bodyguard, and Hercule. So Mirak's still a pretty good life stat. Her power stat, however, of 3245, this is one of the poorest power stats we've seen in the whole entire game, especially of recently released monsters. This is just very bad, but that really doesn't matter considering this monster is by no means an attacker. Her speed stat, on the other hand, 3542, that's where it's at. This is the second highest speed stat in the metal category. In fact, this, even though it's the second highest speed stat, this makes Mirak officially the fastest metal denier. That's right, she is way faster than any other denier in the metal category. And if you're wondering who is the fastest metal monster, that currently goes to Hopkin. However, Hopkin doesn't have any denial. So with that being said, welcome to the fastest denier, metal denier in the game. Alright, and what else do you need to know about this monster? This monster has the hardened trait, meaning 20% less accuracy to get hit with negative effects, and she has a random status caster protection, random protection. Now, I don't know if this is a self status caster or a team status caster. I'm hoping it's a team status caster. With that being said, random protection can include any positive effects such as protect positive buffs, trait protection, an area dodge, that would be very nice, hydrophobic shield, photophobic shield, those kinds of shields that make it so you can only take damage from a certain element. Cooldowns protection, a damage mirror, whether it's 50% damage mirror, 100% damage mirror, skill mirror, evasion, skills such as those, or random buffs such as those. In terms of relics, this monster can hold the mask and the trap, which are some of the better relics in the game. With masks, you can either drain enemy stamina, you can, if you happen to have Talonay's mask, you can even give your whole team a shield. If you have the trap, the Oblivion trap is one of the more popular traps. Drain enemy stamina when your HP drops below 50%. So there's a lot you can definitely utilize with this relic combination. In terms of book, this monster is going to be in the mechanical book, the female book, and the superheroes book. So you can definitely get a lot of usage out of her. And now for the most important part, her skills. Is this monster worth getting ranked up? Is she worth trying for in the race? Well, let's find out. We'll start with tier 1 skills, starting off with calculated. It applies a random torture skill to one enemy, applies a random torture skill to one enemy, requires cooldown. So this monster I like because by applying 2 random torture skills to one enemy, there's a higher likelihood of something landing, especially when every single monster has hardened plus. Whether you're taking on a general, whether you're taking on, I don't know, a VIP monster, they have bulwark. Some of the War Masters have bulwark. If you're taking a Nemesis monster, actually I think some of the Nemesis have bulwark. Regardless, like every single monster nowadays has a 20% accuracy to not get hit, 25, a 30, 35, or a 50. So anytime that you have a chance to apply 2 effects, that is awesome. That being said, I don't think I'll be recommending calculated. Future Bender removes all negative effects from one ally, applies a random positive status effect to one ally, applies a random positive. So you get 2 positive effects to one ally. So just imagine you clear all of your negative buffs, you give yourself a dodge area trait, and you give yourself a protect positive. So there's no way the enemy can remove that. That could really come in handy. I love that you're doing double, as opposed to some of the monsters that can only do 1 positive status effect. So even though I like it, there's no reason to run it in my personal opinion. And Dream of the Electric Sheep restores all cooldowns on itself, deals no damage, has no cooldown, and only costs 10 stamina. I don't think there's really going to be a situation in which you need to run this skill. If you look at the cooldowns, really, if I just go down the line, 210, 212, 233, not really high cooldowns. Obviously tier 3 has the higher cooldowns, but that's because you're going to see they are way superior skills. But let's just move on to tier 2, Go Robot. Removes positive status effects from one enemy, applies nanovirus to one enemy, applies total blind to one enemy. I really like this skill. Has a 2-turn cooldown, costs 18 stamina. The reason I really like Go Robot, and I've talked about this in previous videos, is because I feel like we're currently in the current meta where being able to remove positive effects and apply a nanovirus, apply something, a block positive effects, something that prevents the enemy from reapplying positive buffs, that is really going to be needed in the game. Like when you just think of the War Masters you face, War Master Elvira, she starts off with a status caster team evasion. So if you're facing anyone that has Elvira, you better be able to remove those positive effects. If you're facing a Remtar, he'll give his whole team skill mirror. If you're facing a War Master Ragnarok, who knows what he's giving his team? It could be skill mirror, it could be evasion, it could be something else. And it's not even the War Masters. A lot of the newer monsters, who comes to mind? Wasper comes to mind. Wasper gives himself a self-evasion. There's monsters that give themselves, what if you're taking on a Dunraw? Dunraw has Megatons. If you can't get rid of that Megaton on turn 1, you're going to have so much trouble dealing with the enemy team. So having the ability to remove positive effects is very valuable. But that doesn't cut it, right? If you remove the skill mirror from Remtar's team, guess what? Remtar has another skill that can give his whole team skill mirror. What if you do it from Ragnarok? Ragnarok has a skill that can give his team skill mirror. Ragnarok has a skill that can give his team regeneration and 100% damage return. So just removing positive effects isn't enough. If you remove it from Dunraw, Dunraw has a Megaton skill. If you're facing a Clipium, Clipium has a Megaton skill. So removing positive effects isn't enough. But applying Nanovirus, which prevents the enemy from reapplying positive effects, that is super valuable. And this monster takes it a step further by applying Total Blind. So now the enemy isn't going to be able to hit you, isn't going to be able to deal any damage towards you, which I think is amazing. This is a single target skill. However, spoiler alert, skill group 3, you have an AoE version, which is just phenomenal. But let's move on. A Microbe Obliterator removes all negative effects from your allies and they place a random positive status effects to one ally, requires cooldown. So this is interesting because, well, this has 1 turn cooldown, costs 20 stamina. This removes all negative effects from your team, which I think is super valuable and definitely needed in the current meta of Monster Legends. Whether your monsters are controlled, whether, like, if you just look at the monsters, every single monster nowadays can apply, like, double control effects, right? It's not just cooldown activated, it's cooldown activated and sunburn. It's not just possession, it's like possession and stamina drain. It's not just bleed, it's bleed, quicksand, and poison, and like everything. So being able to remove negative effects is super valuable. And on top of that, applying a positive effect is nice. However, it's only to a single ally, not to your whole team. But let's keep going. I Have No Mouth deals moderate metal damage to one enemy, applies a random control skill to one enemy, applies metal weakness to one enemy. So interesting, you have a random control skill. I don't think this skill is going to be worth running, however you could. But we'll talk about skills group 3 and then we'll go back to skills group 2. So the first law, I actually really like this skill. It has a 2 turn cooldown and it costs 30 stamina. This will give your whole team immunity to control and immunity to torture. The reason I like this is because obviously if we look at this monster's speed, 3542, this is one of the faster monsters in the game. Furthermore, she's going to be a team race monster, meaning you're going to be able to get this monster at level 115 or at level 120, whether you get her at rank 3 or rank 4. So, if she's one of your faster monsters and you give her 3 speed runes, a lot of times you can have this monster go first. And if you have her go first, if you activate the first law, even though you're not denying the enemy, you're giving your team protection from being controlled, from stun, mega stun, freeze, mega freeze, possession, exclusive possessions, and you're giving your team immunity from every single control skill, which is super valuable because there are some control skills that monsters don't currently have an immunity towards, right? Like you're going to have immunity to the quicksand, to the bleed, to the sunburn. You know, those are some of the more unique ones. Oh, and also drowned. You know, no monster is currently immune to drown. And I might be wrong, but I might not be wrong about this. You might even have protection against shock, because I believe that also counts as a torture effect, even though it has that added negates extra turn skills. So having immunity to torture and control is super valuable. And especially on a super fast monster, this is definitely a must run skill, definitely necessary in the current meta of Monster Legends. Like, I mean, just imagine if you face a Ruby, Ruby can activate Ruby the Explosion, activate 2 negative control skills and Ignition. Too bad, none of that is going to land. You're protected from Ignition and you're protected from the control skills. This is phenomenal, the first law. Moving on, we also have Deep Thoughts, another incredible skill. And it's basically the AoE version of Go Robot from Skills Group 2. Removes positive effects from all enemies, applies nanovirus to all enemies, applies total blind to all enemies. Now, the reason I really like this skill is because we've been seeing a lot more monsters that are immune to control skills, right? Gelotron was the first. There's another one that escapes my mind at the moment. And then Hukuai from the current maze, he's immune to control skills. And you're thinking, well, how do I deny them? Well, one of the best ways to deny them would be by applying Total Blind. Well, fortunately, this monster has that. This monster can AoE Total Blind, which I think nowadays you need. Now, yes, of course, the enemies might still have hardened or tough or have some sort of immunity against negative effects. But hey, if the enemy monsters can't be controlled, having a chance to Total Blind is better than nothing. But wait a minute, this monster actually takes it a step further, because if we read I Must Scream, your final skill from Skills Group 3, deals moderate metal damage to all enemies, applies a random control skills to all enemies, And it also applies Metal Weakness, which is just a little extra, but applies a random control skill to all enemies. So this monster can basically do a random stun, possession, freeze, or the mega versions of them, the 2-turn versions, so a random one to all of the enemy monsters, which honestly may come in handy. Now again, when monsters have Hardened and Plus, the likelihood of them landing isn't as good as you'd like. Like honestly, a double chance to apply random control would have been phenomenal. But still, a random chance to apply something is better than a random chance to apply nothing. And then on top of that, if you know this isn't going to be worth it, like maybe you're facing Necromancer and his whole team is immune to possession, and one of the enemy monsters is a mountain monster. Well, obviously you're not going to do I Must Scream. Instead you go for Deep Thought and you total blind them, and you also prevent them from applying any more buffs. But if that's not the case and you think you can land the random control, like maybe one enemy monster is immune to stun, another one's immune to possession, heck, hit them with the random control, you might land something on everyone. So overall, this monster, I gotta say, she is extremely flexible, right? She can AoE random control everyone, she can AoE total blind everyone and prevent them from applying buffs, and also remove any buffs they may currently have. And on top of that, immunity to control for your whole team and immunity to torture. So think about it, how does the enemy really kill you at this point? They can't control you, and they can't torture you. And when the top monsters or the tanks have become so relevant in the game, the Dunra, the Clipium, when those kinds of monsters have become so relevant, and one of the best ways to kill them is by using torture skills, how do you kill them when they have immunity to torture? And this is going to be on a 2-turn cooldown, so you can use it again if you need to. Like, I just don't see that happening. So it goes without saying, run all of skills group 3, and then as for your final skill, honestly, you're just going to switch to whatever you need. Do you want an extra total blind skill? Do you want another random control skill? Because you could run that if you want. And you know what, the more I think about it, you can even run Calculated from skills group 1. 2 random torture skills to the enemy. Now granted, it might be the same random torture, but still, the chance to apply 2 random tortures to the enemy monster, that's to one enemy monster, that's actually pretty good too, because this monster, again, is not a damage dealer. Her power is very, very poor. But if you can apply an ignition and a bleed, an ignition and burning, quicksand and ignition, that could be very, very powerful. So again, it goes without saying, run all of skills group 3 and run Calculated, or run Go Robot or something else. That's really up to you at the end of the day, but definitely I think most of the time you're going to be using skills group 3. If you start off with a total blind, which I think most of the time you are going to start off with Deep Thought, I think looking at her whole skill set, that's probably the superior skill. Deep Thought just outshines everything. After that, I Must Scream for the random control, and then First Law you'll use whenever you think you need it to an advantage, right? If you're facing a Ruby and you don't think you can land the total blind, or you don't think you can land the random control, then start off with the control immunity. So, but again, it goes without saying, this is a very phenomenal monster in my personal opinion. It goes without saying you should run 3 speedruns on this monster. There are also arguments where you can make this monster a support monster and give team speed. However, again, considering she's a race monster, considering you're going to get her at level 120, level 115, heck, even 110, whatever, I think you should make this monster go first, and she's going to be dominating a lot. Oh, and I just realized I haven't even talked about the ultimate skill. Brave New World. Removes all negative status effects from all allies. Applies immunity to control to our allies. Applies torture immunity to our allies. Look at that. That's basically the first law. That's funny. And applies positive protect positive effects to our allies. So yeah, it's a nice ultimate. It's not necessarily a game-changing ultimate. It's alright. But just her skills with 3 skills, like, I think that's where it shines. My personal opinion, you should definitely go for getting this monster at rank 4. Get her level 120. Give her 3 speedruns. She is going to be quite a competitive monster in her league. Whatever book she's in, the mechanical, the female, the superheroes, just in her metal category, I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. You should definitely try during this upcoming team race. But that's just my personal opinion about this monster. Now I want to hear from all of you guys. Let me know what you think about her in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Deep Thought specifically, since I really think that's her superior skill. Any not thoughts you may have. Do you think I overhyped something? Do you think I underhyped something? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much, and I will see you all next time.